I think we just lost Tali.
Oh.
Hey guys, we got it. No, everybody's here.
Oh.
We're going on in a second.
No, we lost Tali.
Don't worry, we're gonna go live in one moment and we'll get her back. Hi everyone, it's Brian Shifman, the President and CEO of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. Welcome again to another segment of our business resource series. Today we have a very interesting topic. We've called it Physically Apart but Digitally Together. And we're going to cover things like collaboration and teamwork when working from home. We're talking about communication, 7 tips to pivot your marketing, overall leadership, and we are going to get into a bit of a technology discussion. I have 3 great guests with us today. All of them are part of the Vaughan Chamber's Technology and Innovation Committee. I know Arik, we really appreciate you being here. He's the chair of our committee. I'm going to introduce the 3 of you momentarily. I just wanted to remind everybody that I'm sure you've been doing this, but during this time, go to the Vaughan Chamber often, the website, go on the upward banner. It says COVID-19 Business Resources. Click on that. It has all the business supports provided by government, provide more clarity on the rent support program, the wage subsidy program, the CERB. It's all there. Save you some time. The Facebook Marketplace that the Vaughan Chamber started just a moment ago, we checked, and there's over 134 members, or approximately 134 members using it. It just started a few weeks ago, so I'd encourage those who are able to sell a product or service to use that. That's free, so I would encourage you to take advantage of it. I want you to be able to continue to sell during this time while staying safe. Obviously, that's the priority. And I wanted to thank our live webcasting partner, Render Media. They've been great to work with throughout all our virtual town halls and our resource series. And VBank, the Vaughan Business Enterprise Center through the City of Vaughan, has been very supportive as well. Thank you for partnering with us. And at this point, I want to welcome 3 speakers. Arik Kalininsky, the CEO of Daliku, and as I mentioned, the chair of the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce Technology and Innovation Committee. Tali Hasanov, Managing Director, WSI Digital Path, and a certified digital marketing consultant, and also a member of 2 of our committees, membership as well as technology. And Joe Pampena, a longtime friend of the Vaughan Chamber. He's the principal and business coach, or C4C Coaching for Change, has also been the chair of the Vaughan Chamber board. So certainly 3 people very in touch with what the membership is looking for. So let's get into a discussion about collaboration, teamwork, communications, technology, and marketing. I'm going to kick it off by going to Arik, CEO of Daliku. Arik, over to you.
Brian, thank you. So I'll just start by pretty much thanking the committee. We have Joe here, we have Tali. There's some other folks from the committee, from the tech committee as well, that I'm sure have joined online. We're working hard at the committee specifically to try to, lead when it comes to innovation and technology. We meet every 6 weeks or so, coming up with quick one-on-one documents for everyone to see. So please join, go to the website, go to the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce website. You'll see very current, very contemporary documents, articles, one-on-ones, if you will, about technology, and we try to dish them out every 6 weeks or so. The idea for this webinar came across about, I want to say 2-3 months ago in preparation for COVID. We were preparing for work from home even way back when a lot of stuff happened since. What we wanted to do is we wanted to provide some guidelines now about how to best work from home, how to stay connected. Tali and Joe have a wonderful presentation for everyone. For my part, I'm just going to go over some basics with some quick demos of technology that is available right now, things that you can do as far as collaboration, document sharing, video conferencing, and so forth. And I'll also show you, hopefully if it works, a sneak peek into technology that is available right now, but it's so exciting and pretty amazing. And hopefully that's going to work through the demo because it's very new, and we'll jump to it in a second. Before I go into my demo, again, I promise that it's going to be short. I'm actually timing myself. Before we go into the demo, quick shout out to the folks at Tech Connects who are joining us as well, and we welcome them. And any questions that they may submit are going to be absolutely amazing to work with. And amazing to work with throughout the last few years. Throughout the last few weeks. Tali, myself, we've been members of Tech Connects as well, and it's a wonderful organization as well. So without further ado, let's jump into a bit of a screen share, and we'll just show you a couple options that we have for. That's the wrong screen share. A couple of options that we have. So everyone's talking about basically conference callings, and you have a lot of options. You have options from Zoom, of course, everyone's talking about that. Google Meet has just been released. It's a continuation to Hangouts, which was around for a long time, allowing you to connect with many people and having conversations, chats as well. There's also document sharing that's available to you right now, to collaborate with your teammates, to share with customers, to work with customers, and there's ongoing chatting in the form of, Slack, WhatsApp, maybe not so much for business, but Slack very much for business. And then there's a product from Microsoft called Microsoft Teams, which kind of combines everything. It allows you to conduct video calls, conference calls, up to hundreds of people, allows you to go with chatting with your entire, team base, and basically combines the built-in document sharing, document collaboration. So right now we have a colleague that's in the document right now, and basically the two of us can work. I'm just going to minimize this. The two of us can work with the document at the same time and edit the document at the same time. And this does not have to be internal to the team. This could be, so you can see Lee, for example, she's adding some paragraphs right now. She's adding an image, as basically I'm doing it at the same time. So this is not restricted to geography. This is not restricted to, to time zones or whatnot. And this can very well be done with customers. So you will be sitting at home, working at home. As you can see, I'm not doing any of these changes right now. Lee does. And your customers could be working from home. And at the same time, you guys can work on the same documents, collaborate on Word, collaborate on Excel or the Google Suite or whatnot, and have chatting in place as well. So all this functionality is available. We're not going to go with a particular product recommendation, but you obviously see our choice here, but you can go with Google and not Snapchat, but OneDrive. You can go with drop, drop or Dropbox, and there's a lot of other options as well there. So that as far as technology is, as far as we go for technology that is available right now, because of COVID, a lot of the big players in the industry are coming out with remarkable discounts. For example, Microsoft just announced that you can get Office, you can get an E1 license for free for 6 months through their resellers or whatnot. So basically, you get yourself Teams, you get email, you get everything that I just talked about for free for 6 months. And these are some amazing savings that you could have. We basically extend these savings to the technology, not to the technology, but we extend these savings to the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce members as well. So this is now, hold on, I'm not seeing my screen. There you go. Now I'm seeing my screen. So this is as far as the technology that is available for us to use right now, and I'm sure that many of us have been using it or some form of it over the last few weeks. So really there's nothing new. It's just that if you do have any questions about that, feel free to contact the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce, especially the Technology Committee, and we'll talk about some options that you may have. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is really the future, and the future is available now. And in particular, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hold on, wrong browser. I'm going to show you a technology that is available for everyone right now. It's called SharePoint Spaces. Again, you get it with that Microsoft Office 365 subscription that you can get for free for 6 months. And what it does is it allows you to start utilizing augmented reality. So as you can see, I'm not using a headset right now, but if you had a headset, you can actually jump into this environment right now. I can edit it. I can basically, let me see if this is going to work live. I'm going to add objects to it. You can design your own objects. Let me try. Okay, so I'm going to put an object here and go into my catalog, which I can program and look into some of my options right now that I have. So for example, I'm going to plan a space and maybe add a room into my virtual environment. And the system is going to build this room as we look into it live, and I can start placing things into the room. I can work with this environment in real time, collaborate with multiple people, and create in 3D. This is available to everyone. This will be available to everyone in the summer, so in a month or two. But right now, early adopters can start working with this. Essentially, this environment is a work environment. This is not a kid's playground. You can work with documents, collaborate on documents, just like I shown you a few minutes ago through Teams. You can start collaborating in this environment right now. One of our partners who's in the building software industry is actually looking at this environment very carefully right now to obviously create 3D landscapes, showroom, homes, home designs, all in real time and in augmented reality. So this is called SharePoint Spaces, and again, available through Microsoft, available with your E1, with your Office 365 subscription. The last thing I'm going to try to do, and this may not work because this morning it crashed on us a couple of times, so we're just going to try it regardless, is try basically to get into a little tidbit, another tidbit in augmented reality, and give me just 1 minute. I have 1 minute left into my segment, so I'm going to try to bring it up if it's possible, and if not, then Tali's going to take over right
You're
away.
okay, Arik. You're okay.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm cutting the video for right now, and let's try that other section that I wanted to show everyone. Bear with me. Just loading it up.
Okay.
Here we are. Almost there.
It's like we always say, technology is great when it works.
Exactly. And of course, it's going to crash a million times during a demo because it has to. Okay. Here's my video again. So let me see if this is actually going to work in time. So essentially what I did is I turned myself into a gentleman called Brad, who's a famous movie star. And the reason I'm doing that is to showcase some of the security concerns that we may have with the zooming and the snapping and so forth. Essentially, the gist of this is that as part of the technology committee, we're looking at cybersecurity, we're looking at security threats, we're looking at all kinds of options in the new normal. The new normal is work from home. The new normal is collaborate over screen shares and so forth. The new normal also includes risk where you think you're talking to someone, maybe your boss, maybe your wife, maybe your husband, maybe your mother, and you actually are not. You're talking, maybe you think you're talking to Brad Pitt, but you're not. You're actually talking to Arik. So this is a very cheap render that basically I managed to get myself. There's other renders that you can get as well. But some people with higher end technology can definitely create renders of pictures of anyone. So the gist of what I'm trying to say is Zooming, Skyping, all that is great. It allows us to work and facilitate conversation while still at home, but make sure that you know who you talk to. And that's a wrap.
Thanks, Arik. Well, we got a little humor in there. Some good tips on technology, and especially Office 365. So let's pass it over to Tali Hasanov. So as I mentioned earlier, she's the managing director of WSI Digital Path and a certified digital marketing consultant. And Tali's going to talk to us about pivoting your marketing. Hi, Tali. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for hosting us. And I myself, my computer just crashed twice, and I bought this, fancy professional camera to use. And apparently, I think that it doesn't work well with Skype, so I had to just get rid of it. So I'm not sure if you guys can see me, because I can't see myself, but I see that my computer camera works. So I don't know if you can see me or not. Okay, so we will be speaking about tips to pivot your marketing. And it's important to understand that even after everything is going back to normal, whatever normal it is, it would never be the same as before, right? So it's just a great push for businesses that were postponing, taking their time. So that's a moment that you have to use to in order to pivot. So we will quickly speak about good news and statistics. We will speak about the tips, tools. Most of them, even all of them, free have free versions. I packed them with free version so you can play and try. And then at the end, Brian will get us to questions and answers.
That sounds great. And we have received feedback from the audience at home that they can see you.
They can or can't?
They can.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Because
I'm finding. Listen, technology, like I said to Arik, technology is great when it works. So I can't see you right now, but I can hear you. And if the audience at home can see you, let's just keep going. And we'll do at the end after Joe, we'll do some Q&A with our audience. Sounds great.
Sounds good. Okay, perfect. So let's get started on a positive note. Current situation, if we look back at Google and Facebook, when nobody heard about them, So now knowing what is Google, what is Facebook, there is like no-brainer to invest, but back then nobody knew. So it was kind of a very uncharted territory. I would say that at the moment we probably in similar situation. So just use it as opportunity, not in negative ways or listening to media and etc. So don't panic, just look positive at the situation. Those are just some stats of internet. I'm not going to go over everything, but you can see that numbers are huge. A number of internet users nowadays in the world, total number of websites, Google searches, videos, it's humongous. Digital is just growing every day. So there is an opportunity. And those digital statistics on this slide, it's actually happened before Corona. So we have 58% of the world population using the internet, 81% of users research products online. So nowadays it's obviously 100% done online. 81% of internet users own a smartphone, and 89% of marketers indicate that social media important. And again, today I would say it's 100%. So how behaviors and needs changing for yourself, for your clients, and for people those days? March, April, May. So we face in reality of kids at home, no school, no friends, parents working from home, couples working for different companies, fighting for bandwidth and the technology and everything, and bored teenagers we have at home as well. So good tips here, it's every 2 days try put your jeans on to check if they still fit. That's a very good tip to use. Next, those are just statistics for email, social, and messages engagement in Canada and how it changed compare end of December, beginning of January, comparing to mid-March. So you can see increase in percentage, and it's huge, especially for social networking. People are craving this communication. They need the community. They need people to talk to. So the opportunity is there. And it's not a subway map. This shows digital marketing landscape overall. It's really complex, as you can see, a lot of
Tali,
channels.
I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation. Can you please share your screen with us?
Oh, I'm sharing the screen.
We're not getting your screen share coming through.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. So this is not a subway map. So this is just a landscape of digital marketing those days, and it's really complex. There is a lot of channels. There is a lot of things to look at. And I'm sure many of you saw this slide coming, circulating between LinkedIn and Twitter, and who was leading your digital transformation, and it's COVID-19. So the opportunity is there. So let's jump into their actual tips. First one would be updating your website. And you have to change the messaging and be current to the situation. What is on your homepage? What message you would like to deliver? Include any helpful information for people about your business. Maybe you changed your services. Maybe you changed your hours. Content that people looking for every day. Reflect your locations. Maybe you do, if you're a restaurant, maybe you do delivery. What changes happen in your business? Link all your social media accounts to your website, very important as well. So it can lead from your social accounts to their to your website. And it's also very useful to add the chat function on the website, so people reaching to your website, if they have a question, they can write there, chat you, and ask different questions. And it's a good idea to add a blog. I will speak about blog on the next slide, and update website as often as maybe daily or weekly with different updates that you have to tell your clients or prospects. Next one, social media. And we just saw numbers of percentage numbers of increase in social media, so it's close to 40% increase in engagement. you can notify your clients, prospects about everything. If you have new hours, that you still open for business. If you do some online consultations instead of physical, you have remote opportunities. Continue engaging and sharing on social to stay connected and in the loop with your audience. And social media goals, it's really important. So you have to set up your goals, right? So what you would like to achieve from this social media engagement, right? So it's not just post content and forget about it. It's important to ask your followers questions, answer the questions, and to really have a conversation there, not just post and forget. And it's also important, everything that you post, you can share on your website, in the blog section, you can share it on other channels. And it's also a good opportunity to test, if you haven't done it before, social media advertisement, boosting your post. We saw last month that cost for Facebook ads went actually down. So you can add a few dollars there to test. If you see a post performing well, just add a few bucks to reach to more audience on your social media. And it's a great example of mix between educational information on social media and maybe some company updates with fun. On the left, we see here some updates educational. On the right, we see updates with fun. So this is my employee of the month. She's coming here every day. She needs to help me out here. Okay. Number 3, update all your listings. Google My Business, Yelp, Google Maps, Bing, whatever listings you have. Again, letting people know if you open for business, updating the hours, even those basic things, but many businesses are not really doing it. Sometimes I'm searching even on Google or Google Maps for a business. It shows hours, you call, but apparently they close. So, or the other way around. And it's the first thing that people see, right? Now update about Google reviews. If you have program, maybe automated programs that ask reviews from your clients, it's a good idea to maybe pause it for a while, because Google not posting any Google reviews at the moment. They will go back to this later. Send an email, also very important. Every time you have customer interaction, build your database. Emails are very valuable source and channel. And I personally love emails very well, but send an email with purpose. It should have some value to bring to your customers or clients. And implement a CRM system, it's customer relationship management, if you haven't done it yet. Those are just stats for email and conversions. You can see that email converts much better than any other sources. Social, search, direct, so emails is the highest. Those are just some tools you can implement. HubSpot, it has a free CRM option. You can play around this for free. MailChimp has some free option if you have less than 2,000 records. And if you have a fairly simple email program, I wouldn't recommend to use it for any complex automation. Klaviyo is great if you go into e-commerce space. It's a great tool. It also has free version, I think up to 250 records. You can send up to 500 emails per month. It's free. So it has some ready-to-use flows. And emails really, if it's done properly, the return is between $32 to $34 on each dollar you spend. So it's important. Blog. This is very, very important. And people will find your website because you have some valuable content. Businesses with blog generate 126% more leads. And it's really, think about it as advertisement for search. This good idea, again, you can repurpose your blog, you can post it on your Google My Business, you can use it for your social posts, people will share, again, if it's valuable information. to get some ideas about content, what to write about, and some topics ideas. This website answers the public. There is free version. You can search for keywords, for example, if you're in certain space or category, and you can get some ideas for blog posts to generate. And here are some tips for you. For example, how to find out how many pages on a website if you want to look at your competitors or even about your website. So if you type in Google search bar site and URL, you will get number of pages on the site. And if you add to this space and blog, you will see how many results for blog posts. So that's also important to know how much content you have or your competitors have. Video. I'm sure many of you heard about the importance of video. Video actually was going very strong even before the pandemic. Now it's mostly second best choice to in-person interaction. So video extremely important. You can use it for your post on social media. You can use it stories, Facebook, Instagram. Everyone is looking for videos, right? And really perfect length. It's probably 30-40 seconds if you record something for your clients or for your audience. If you don't feel comfortable with video, prepare and train. Sometimes doing interviews, it's a good way to start if you're not very comfortable with video. But this is great tool. And you can record videos in About Us section for solution, how to, and YouTube is second big search engine after Google, and Google actually owns YouTube. So YouTube, look at this, it's a search engine as well to promote yourself. This is just an example, and this tool, Vidyard, it has a free option. It could be used as well as great. So this, for example, a report that I pulled for a client, and I want to send him, I'm recording myself, giving some insights, what is wrong, what should be improved, and where is the space, some opportunity, and I'm sending it to the client, right? So it's great. You can, for the free version, you can't download the video. It will be hosted on Vidyard URL, but to play with this and start with free version, good enough. And the paid version, it's not that expensive. It's about, I think, $15 per month. So then you can download and upload the videos. Now, e-commerce. So e-commerce is a big thing those days, and it's really could be used for any industry. Past months, it has been like Black Friday every day for e-commerce retailers, and sales up compared to April last year, more than 200%. So it's opens 24 hours, you have global reach, and really look at this as opportunity. Those stats for e-commerce on the right, the graph, it's in figures in $1 trillion, and it happened before pandemic as well. So e-commerce could be used for consultation, subscription, gift card, classes, takeout. So any industry can benefit from e-commerce. Three important points to look when you create a website, and especially e-commerce. Three important questions you have to answer is, first, when customer comes to your website, am I at the right place? I'm as your potential customer, right? Second question you have to answer, can I trust this company? So what trust factors there, right? If you won any awards, years in business, number of happy customers, testimonials, reviews, so all this should be on your page. And also, what is the next step? Sometimes I'm coming to the website, I'm looking what they want me to do. Where should I click? So this should be all very easy and clear to the customer. They're not supposed to think. And this is ideally should be done under 8 seconds. Those I know we close to limit of time. So some categories of businesses, restaurants, offer takeout and delivery, specials, publish on your homepage how you changed your approach in current situation. post and boost your daily special, what is a good time, integrate online ordering. Again, we're coming back to e-commerce. Professional services. I know that many people on the call probably in professional services space. So again, great way to use online and digital, offer webinar, promote with email campaigns and social media, offer consultations through Zoom or GoToMeeting. And you can integrate e-commerce as well for professional services. Educate your audience, post valuable content. That's where the value, right? And retailers and grocery, obviously, e-commerce. It's if you're not there yet, you have to really consider doing it now, because expectations after we're going back to normal, whatever normal will be. Expectations will be aligned to what we experienced at the moment. So you have to optimize your digital and online presence to generate more business. Just one update from Google. Last week, Google actually wants to help retailers. So they announced this is shopping. So if you're going on Google search, and you're going under shopping cart, before those were retailers that were advertising in AdWords, paid campaigns, PPC, they were appearing here. Google helping retailers, and they will be able to publish here free in shopping, under shopping tab. The only thing you have to do is open retail merchant account. So that helps. Some of that was publishing in shopping before. You don't need to change anything. So just to summarize some of the software that we looked at, you can use YouTube is free, Vimeo free, Google free, MailChimp has free option, HubSpot it's for your CRM, it has free option, Vidyard for recording videos has free option, Answer the Public, it's to get ideas for your blog content, what people looking for. Zoom, has a free option. Calendly, again, to provide your potential prospect or customers ability to book meetings with you online. So it has free option as well. And just in the summary, do more marketing now. It's great time to do so. It's just look what your competition does. If they don't do marketing, just put more there. As for social media, I would suggest concentrate on 2 channels. So if you know that your customers on LinkedIn and on Facebook, just go to 2 channels. Don't do 10 a little bit. Be good at 2. And refresh your existing content and shift your messaging, obviously. Update your blog post and post write as often as you can. Shift spending in the areas to get better ROI and test, obviously. And it's important to put yourself in your customer's shoes. So think about their new set of priorities and pivot your business to support them. And again, it will be online. And be creative and don't be afraid to pivot to new channel. An amazing thing will happen. Yeah, I'm good. That's.
Thank you so much, Tali. There's a lot of great content there. Later today I'm on a segment with our friends at Niagara University and the mayor of Vaughan talking about how to deal with a slowly recovering business sector as we slowly get back to work. And a lot of it goes back to e-commerce. I like that slide about the explosion of e-commerce. And I guess what I would add too, and I think it was implied, is we need to be online. Business should be having an e-commerce strategy if you can sell any product or service, but certainly beta test those products before you go live with it. I think it's good to be creative for sure, but also make sure you're testing that behind the scenes. If you have to go live, test it like in the middle of the night when no one can see it. Just a small tip. Through my career, we've always tried to do beta testing, but I thought there was a lot of great content there, and I look forward to a little bit of a chat after. If you're watching at home, feel free to send us a question or comment on. Most of you are watching it on YouTube, so you can do that. And I want to get to our esteemed speaker, Joe Pampena, the former board chair of the Vaughan Chambers. Have to be nice to you, Joe. Joe is a professional team builder and coach, and is so active with the Vaughan Chamber and various committees. So, Joe, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning and welcome, everyone. So let me start by asking each of you to consider the following. Is COVID-19 the disruptive technology of 2020? Although COVID-19 is a virus and obviously not a technology, if you think about how much it's impacted and disrupted our world and our businesses, it does mimic a disruptive technology. At least from a cause and effect perspective. COVID-19 is really going to be the instrument that changed the way we do business, live our lives, and adapt and prepare for future disruptions, no matter what they may be. So it does mimic a disruptive technology. And like any disruptive technology, yes, tools, innovation, processes, etc., are all great and important to help us get through it. However, it's really strong leadership that binds everything together. So my focus, for my time is going to be talking about e-leadership, communications, and collaboration and teamwork, but from the people perspective, which supplements what you've heard Arik and Tali talk about with some of the technology and tools and things like that. So let's start with leadership. I mean, I'd like you to consider at least, during this pandemic or any other similar situation, effective leaders are those that can motivate their teams while fostering a positive and healthy business culture. Leaders must be responsive to their teams and their needs as well as their own, and both from a work and professional perspective. People more than ever today need to feel fulfilled and valued as part of the team, as part of the organization. So to be an E-leader, and E in this particular case, I'm referring to emotional and empathic leader. You need to recognize how enormously important each team member is, along with their well-being and that of their families. Remember, as a leader, your state of mind, how you interact and communicate with your team members, generates their state of mind, and their state of mind impacts the work, but also impacts what they bring home. And then if you reverse that, the home environment also has an impact on the state of mind of that individual and what they bring back to the job. So it's all interconnected when you're looking at leadership and how you interact with your team member as well as yourself. Remember, you are part of that team, and your state of mind impacts yourself and what you bring home as well. So, if you look at the complexities of the current working environment today, as a good leader, you really need to demonstrate that emotional intelligence. You need to be aware of the situation around you and your own situation. Both, from an individual team member perspective and, the organization as a whole. Everyone's work-home situation is far more complex today than it was, let's say, a few months ago. Everyone is dealing with a heightened level of anxiety and stress, especially when you layer in, that family health and safety concerns that we all bring to the table. So at this time, as an e-leader, I think you should not be focusing on high productivity, high profits. It's really about survival today. Survival about the business, survival about the team, and that also includes the families associated with you as the employer, the manager, the business owner, as well as the team member. So you want to ensure that each team member maintain a balance between work, well-being, and most of all, work-family. Working people long hours, even though they may be working from home, does not really serve for a positive outcome. If there's no balance, you add stress, you add more anxiety, which in turn lowers productivity. It also impacts one's health and compromises their potential immune system because of that stress. And again, that applies to you as the business owner or the manager or leader of the organization. This is equally important, as I said, for yourself, and your team. And you got to remember that some of you may be a sole proprietor. So you may say, I don't have a team, but your friends and family are part of your team. And I think you should view them as such and include them in those conversations as well. Communications. I can't stress enough about how communications are important. Over 85% of change in any organization fails because of communication. Either too much communication, poor timed communication, irrelevant communication, you name it. I mean, that is a big component of major failures in organizations. And so I'd like to sort of share this stat with you from a neuroscience perspective. If you look at the population as a whole, 20% of people are predominantly auditory communicators. 40% are visual and 40% are tactile, kinesthetic. At least from a predominant perspective. We all sort of play in each of those spaces, but one of those attributes is more predominant than others. So I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about more communications and even teamwork and collaboration going forward. Remember, things like COVID, it doesn't discriminate from the issues of an employer or an employee or a business owner. In fact, there's a lot of similarities. Everyone at whatever level they're at is thinking about will I have a job? Will I have a business? How will I pay my bills? How does this impact my family, my retirement? So when communicating, keep in mind that you shouldn't discriminate in your form of communication either, because things like COVID does not discriminate. Remember, communications needs to be timely. There must be a relevant message, and you even heard Tali talk about that in some of your marketing. It has to be relevant. Do not repeat the same information that has already been put out there, or information that you may have already stated in an earlier communication, because that has no positive impact to the organization and the team. And sometimes communication does need to be straight to the point. It's really about the message, not what the content is, but how you deliver that message. And this is where I go back to making sure as an e-leader, you layer into your messaging, emotional and empathy into that message, so that people aren't thinking that you're just a talking head and that you're, just reading from a script and you're being the boss. Open, honest communication is always the best. It avoids added anxiety and disruption to the organization. If you don't have that right, open, honest communication, you never have trust, and you start to get people, we'll say around the proverbial water cooler, starting to fill in the blanks with their own thoughts, which is not productive. And remember, different communication styles. Be visually acute. Speak with your normal voice. Avoid being monotone. I mean, I know in times like pandemics or difficult times, we become that talking head. We start to read from a script, very, very mechanical and robotic. That doesn't help deliver the right message. So try and leverage, the words that will connect people with that visual, auditory, and kinesthetic component. Be an empathetic leader when communicating. Now, sort of moving into that area of collaboration and teamwork, which builds off both the e-leader and communication. As you heard, Arik and Tali talk about, different technologies and tools. I encourage you to leverage and look at what tools are best to improve your collaboration and teamwork. But again, my focus is going to be on the people right now. So, for example, conference calls are great. Sending email and text is simple to do. However, it's not always the best form of communication when you're talking to your team. Why? An email or a text does not really convey what the visual acuity of that individual is. Their body language and things like that. You don't get tonal information. So keep that in mind when you're sending text or email. Conference calls is a little bit better because obviously you're speaking to a person, so you can latch onto that auditory tonal inflection. Ultimately, and you heard Tali talk about video. I mean, the next best thing to video is actually, the next best thing to video is being there. But when we can't be there, video conference and video chats are ideal. Why? Because you can see the person, you can interact with the person, you can pick up on changes and adjust your level of communication to suit the individual need at that particular time. So I encourage people that are dealing with teams, whether it's a mixed bag of people working from home or people in the office, etc., to get on a video conference call on a regular basis and interact with your team. Sometimes it has to do with delivering a message or talking about, the work for the day. But in some cases, it's good to jump on the call and just find out how everybody's doing. Have a check in with the individual. How are things going at home? How are they coping with the current situation? Again, be that empathetic leader, and not always just focus about the job, because as I said earlier, the state of mind of each individual has an impact on the productivity and the success of the organization. I would also recommend a follow-up video call with one-on-one individuals. Because sometimes during a group chat, people may not open up about certain things. So I think it's really important to have that touch point with the individuals. And again, the video chat is the most ideal way to do it. Sometimes you can't do that. Conference call or a voice call would be great. Again, you want to pick up on what's going on with the individuals when you are interacting with them. I would also encourage you at this time to try and also leverage these video calls to have some interactive fun. As Brian pointed out, I like doing team building games. One thing that I do, it's usually, better suited for, a live audience, but for example, I like to share little Lego kits with people, and they build certain things. You give them a bunch of criteria. One example is a helicopter. You have a prototype there. You give them a bunch of criteria, you break them up into teams, and you say, hey, go build this prototype. You have this amount of time to do so, and et cetera. And why is that important? It's a fun activity. But when you sort of do the debrief, you can actually connect the dots to how people interact on the job. And that's very important as well, given the nature of what we're dealing with the pandemic and everything, and not being able to be there. So, have some fun with it. It doesn't have to be, a physical thing. It could be even just an icebreaker, but you want to interact with your people in a different way. Stimulate conversation, through some of these activities or through some of these icebreakers. Remember, your team are the best source of information. They can also help you get out of this, pandemic situation and have your business, succeed and strive. Because obviously, they are stakeholders, so make them stakeholders in some of the solutions that you're trying to come up with as well. And as an e-leader, I ask everybody to practice PALA, P-A-L-A. That's pause, ask, listen, and acknowledge. So do not jump in and interrupt someone when they're speaking or conveying something to you. Pause yourself. Ask questions, and ask open-ended questions, not closed-ended questions. So, for example, what I mean by that is if you're asking someone, don't ask them, have you been impacted by COVID? Because that generally will generate a yes or no response, and that's not stimulating the conversation. Instead, ask, have you or your family or friends been impacted by COVID? That allows a person to elaborate a little bit more in the response, and you get more information on how that person is dealing with the situation and obviously dealing with things at home. So ask questions and get clarity, and then listen. This is one of the most important items there is effective listening. Most people think they're listening, but we listen with our ears and our minds. And in most cases, people listen with their ears, but their minds are already processing, let's say, the next question or thinking about something else. That's not effective listening. And because of that, you actually lose, kind of the understanding of what the person is saying. And then finally acknowledge, what the person has said. If you practice that, and by the way, this goes beyond pandemic. This is just even when we get back to some level of normality. If you practice, some of these things, they become, the norm for you, and it will improve, your working relationship with your team, going forward. So, and as I said, remember, your team is the best source of information. They're the best source of ideas. So try and engage them. Get them involved in the solution process here. And yeah, sometimes a business is suffering. We know a lot of businesses are obviously not making money. How are they paying the bills? But getting them involved in so what can we do? How do we do it? How do we move forward? How do we reopen when the time comes to reopen? So that we aren't, getting ourselves back in the hole. Engage them. Ask them for ideas. As I said, make them part of the stakeholder team here. And I guess in the end, if some of you may already be doing some of this stuff, and some of you may not be doing it. I encourage you to do this. It may be at a conscious level right now, but if you do it enough times, it transitions from being conscious to unconscious, meaning that it becomes part of your leadership DNA, and you don't have to think about it. And as I mentioned earlier, that will help you in your business going forward and being able to succeed, in the future as well. So, I mean, there's a lot more tips and ideas I can share with you, but I want to be respectful of time, and I want to also open it up to questions. So I hope you found some of that information of value, and you're able to apply it in your daily life and home life as well. Over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Joe. I thought that was great. Talking about active listening, I want to be honest with you. I was active listening, but when you started talking about Lego as a team building exercise, I found myself wondering, is Joe going to bring out the Lego right now and do a team building exercise with us on camera? That would have been fun. So we'll have to do that next time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There was also the spaghetti challenge, but we'll save that for another time.
That would be fun too. Okay, guys. So what I'm hoping to do is we have a lot of pre-submitted questions from the members, and then online people can submit as well. So I'm hoping we can do sort of a rapid fire, try and keep your answers to about 2 minutes. I wanted to just stick with Joe for a minute. Joe, you were talking about the percentage of people who are more kinesthetic, tactile type learners. So can you reiterate or go into just a little bit of detail? How would you, in COVID-19, where the best you can do is see people online, how do you communicate with people who are more kinesthetic and tactile learners? How do you get across your message effectively as a leader?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So yes, definitely. For people to focus, even though you may not be a tactile communicator yourself, and as I said, when I'm talking about the percentage breakdown, that's your predominant trait. I would encourage people to speak and use words that will stimulate, an emotional feeling. Like, for example, how does that make you feel? Because part of tactile is also a touchy-feely thing, but use words that will stimulate that response. But also make sure that your words have that emotion layered in. For example, back in my previous job, when you had to sort of, terminate someone, or you had reorganization, we had scripted messages. So reading that message verbatim does not convey that kinesthetic feeling to the person. But as you're speaking those same words without changing them, if you're turning around and layering in, kind of your own emotion, where the person is able to sense and feel that you are, equally affected by the message, I think that's the best way to communicate that. But definitely use words that stimulate an emotional response, warmth, that touchy-feely kind of expression.
Thanks, Joe. No, I appreciate that. Tali, I'm going to come over to you. We received a lot of questions on marketing. I loved your presentation, and Nadia Sorelli, I want to give her a shout out, active chamber member and the co-chair of our membership marketing committee with Joe. Actually, she submitted a few questions that would help the discussion. So the first one I wanted to ask you is, based on your background, do you think that businesses, like we've heard from all our accounting friends, that and I subscribe to this, that right now cash is king. You have to maintain liquidity. That's a challenge many businesses have. I'm wondering though, so is now the time to cut marketing budgets and adjust spending because that's the predominant thinking, or are there cases where you might increase spending to create more of an online presence?
Thanks for the question, Brian. So for sure, I would consider first what industry is business in. So I can tell you from looking at some of the clients, some of them post their marketing campaigns like paid search and SEO. Some of them actually tripled their investment. So it's really how comfortable a business to take the risk. It's like with any investment, right? So have you heard that people making, the millionaires and billionaires, they make money when the crisis comes? And real estate, people afraid, to put money somewhere, they take a risk. Same here, right? So what I would suggest is for sure to pivot from marketing. Let's say if it was print, like physical events. I don't even know when we're going to be back to like physical events, big events, to online, because that's where the customers. That's where they can reach them, right? At least you have a chance there. Because I would at least reconsider where you put the money, where the business puts the money.
And just as a follow-up though, would you consider, depending on the business or the sector, would you consider influencer marketing right now? Would you invest in that?
Influencer marketing, it's a little bit become a little bit of a gray space because there is a lot of fake made followers and influencers. So again, it depends. It works very strong for beauty industry. For example, for B2B or for services, for professional services, I don't know if it's a good value to go, right? So for beauty, maybe yes. For others, not quite sure.
Okay, fair. Thanks for that. So Arik, we want to give you all the hard questions. I'm going to read you one we got from online, but to summarize before I read it, this is really about being able to do deals where you can't meet someone in person. Mm-hmm. So one of the questions we got, I'll give you the specifics. I'm launching a germ prevention unit for a commercial restroom. I originally wanted to schedule physical presentations. I cannot now. How can I accomplish this virtually?
It's hard. A lot of business has been frozen. A lot of deals have been frozen as a result of COVID. However, I think the reality is that COVID or the virtual meetings are going to be the new normal. Just as an example, yesterday, Twitter announced that employees are pretty much expected to work from home forever. They're not expected to come to the office ever anymore. So now, closing the deals, handling communications, dealing with customers and so forth, we have to find ways to do it virtually. We have to be comfortable with virtual. When you have physical items to demonstrate and to present, it's especially hard. This person with the infection prevention and so forth, they have a physical product that they need to demo, and they have a physical service. That's hard. Construction, that's hard. Renovation, all of these things is hard. This is in particular, I think, where AR, augmented reality, is going to come in handy. And just like Joe said, probably the biggest disruptor is COVID. That it jump-started everything. If AR and VR where things that were reserved for gamers up until now, we're now seeing very big players putting it at work, such as Microsoft introducing SharePoint spaces for work and so forth. I think that for the next few months, the deals are just going to have to be closed virtually. So signing paperwork, virtual handshakes and so forth, conference calls and so forth. I think that towards the end of the year and maybe the beginning of 2021, augmented spaces, virtual spaces, mixed reality, I think these are things are going to be, they're going to be the new norm and a lot sooner than we think.
So, Joe, I'm going to turn to you. And then I want to go back to Arik. If we follow up on what Arik was saying there, do you have some specific tips for how to facilitate a positive virtual team discussion?
Yes, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, having the right tool. There's so many different tools that we can use. Whether it's Zoom, Skype, or Teams, or things like that. I think that first, from a business perspective, you need to assess what your needs are. What's the best technology to be able to communicate with your audience. Then naturally, once you've got the tool, it's understanding, the impacts that COVID's having to that particular customer or vendor that, depending on who you're dealing with. I always tell people during some of our networking events, not just to ask open-ended questions, but ask open-ended value-based questions. Try and understand how the current situation, the current pandemic is impacting that business, and then be able to respond using that person's own words back. So, for example, if part of opening my business is that I'm unable to give my clients a sense of comfort that we're sanitized, then how will your product or service address that and respond back with their concern? That will help sort of ease their tension and their issue around what you're dealing with and potentially what you're offering and trying to sell them. Because obviously right now people are trying to sell anything and everything, as we know, especially if it's related to COVID. So making sure that you are actually addressing their concern from a value add perspective, and ultimately the customers that they're dealing with.
I think it's a great answer, and it certainly shows connectivity and empathy. What about Arik? Specifically, let's focus on the technology side of having a good virtual discussion. Is there a particular technology that you prefer for team chats or tips that you'd recommend?
Well, so we're having a bit of a bad batch of experiences right now with the technology that we chose for this particular webinar, because both myself and Tali have been crashing throughout the session, full disclosure, and it's a bit unnerving. And I don't know if it's coming across as a bit unnerving, but we're seeing for example, I'm seeing a ton of error messages on my screen pretty much throughout the first 45 minutes of the conversation.
Arik, Skype is just trying to phase you and see if you can stay cool under pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing just fine.
Skype is testing us. I think that's what's happening. As far as a recommendation, there's a lot of technology out there. Everyone's Zooming. Zoom has been great for video conferences, and there have been conversations about the security issues related to Zoom and so forth. But I know they're working on it. And as far as stability and having a good session virtually, I think that right now Zoom is probably the best at its game. You could have breakout rooms, you could facilitate conversations, you could have segmentation of people coming and going into particular chat rooms and having separate virtual conversations. You can facilitate whole classes. It's top notch for video conferencing. If you're looking for more of a immersive environment, an environment where you can do more than just video conferencing, where you can share files, when you can work on files, when you can text, when you could integrate with other platforms and have connectors into other platforms. There's quite a few options there, but I think, again, Microsoft Teams will probably be a recommendation because they have all of the above. You could video conference with the team, you could have chatting, you could work with files, as I've shown in the conversation. If you take each piece individually, the video conference, the chatting, and so forth, there's a lot of separate tools to do the job. But if you're looking for a cohesive environment, one environment that does everything, then Microsoft Teams will probably be a personal recommendation of mine. And like I said, because of COVID, the big players, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, they have very, very lucrative specials right now on this technology. So it's a good time because of COVID to get into the habit of doing this, because it is going to become our new normal moving forward.
No, I think it's an interesting answer. Tali, I want to come back to you. So if you're a retail business right now, traditional retail business, and you want to convert to online, and they have no online presence, what recommendations would you make? It's a bit overwhelming. People are dealing with a lot of different issues. So what recommendations would you have there?
Right. So I agree with you, Brian. You used very good word, overwhelming, and it's. I actually got calls from few of my friends that own a business maybe months ago, and they don't know what to do, right? So suddenly I have a friend, she, for example, wholesaler for spa industry, right? So all the spas closed. She has no online store. So she's like, what I'm doing? And it's important, as I mentioned in the beginning of presentation, to use COVID as an excuse and push to go online, because anyways, that's the future, right? That's where any retail store should be. So if to speak from a technical perspective, there is few platforms really that should be considered. Some, for example, Shopify or WooCommerce, or where I'm going. So it really need to analyze business, what their needs, how many products they have, if they have 5 products or they have 500 products, because it should be more robust platform for 500 or 5,000 products, obviously. But I would start from really thinking about plan and strategy. You can start small with few products online and then add as you going live, right? So it's really, the platform would depend on industry, on how many products you're planning to have, and who will be managing all this. Yeah.
But Tali, do you think that if a business has no online presence, is step one to have a website, or is step one to create your Google profile, which is free, or is step one to do like a Facebook marketplace through the Vaughan Chamber? It's not a plug for the chamber. I'm hoping the answer is not step one is all of the above. Like what?
Yeah, that's what I was. It was actually step 0 back, right? So really, Google My Business, again, it depends on the industry of the business. If, for example, it's a restaurant, right, that's still operating at the moment for a delivery and takeout. So important, Google My Business, it's free. People searching, they will show hours, so you open for business and etc. Facebook business page, again, same, you can create Facebook business page, post your daily special. You can put a little bit, few dollars to promote ads to reach to people at least in your area, so they can grab lunch or dinner or whatever, right? But ideally, going back to your question, it should be all of this, because searches perform in different forms, and to reach more business and close more deals, obviously it would be everything. But if for business that had nothing, and I gave example of restaurant, I would start with kind of free or affordable ways. Yeah.
Let me just chime in for a second and say that the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce Facebook Marketplace is also a good place to start as a step one. List your business there, whether you have a Facebook profile or not, and start promoting that right directly into the community. So a bit of a shout out to the Vaughan Chamber of Commerce. I know, Brian, that's something that we're trying to push, and it's a great space for everyone to use.
Well, I appreciate the shout out. I mean, ultimately, we only started that a few weeks ago in response to what was happening with COVID, and there's already more than 130 people using it. So since that's free, it's also available to non-members, but we do give members some extra benefits, like unlimited advertising they'd like to do there. But ultimately, I realized as I was asking Tali the question, like she was probably going to say all of the above, because really you should already have a website. But I think the imperative is, if you haven't started, you got to start now, because we're not going to go back to the way it used to be, no matter what the new normal looks like. Now, just because we're a little short on time, I thought I would do the following. I'm going to ask you both. I'll just give you two questions together. I'm going to go to Joe first. You choose how you want to answer. Just try and limit your answer to about 2 minutes, and that'll also be your concluding comments. And then we'll go to Arik and we'll close with Tali, okay, just for time. They're similar type questions. So during a pandemic, such as COVID-19, should communication goals adapt, and what sort of messaging should we put into action? Or, another way we could look at it, there's a few ways to effectively reach new audiences. What do you think those are? So we've touched on that a little bit through different mediums. So how do your communication goals adapt, and what mediums would you be using? And it'll come back to me. I'll just say a quick goodbye to our audience. Joe.
Well, I think that, communication, as I mentioned earlier, is really key and important. The focus needs to be on the relevant communication, and timely communication. People don't want to know after something. Well, perfect example, when this all started, the way the original messages came out created panic, where people went out and bought toilet paper. For what reason? Nobody can really know. So the message has to be relevant, and it has to be timely, and it has to be genuine. And I can't stress that enough, because if people do not trust what's going on, then we create more chaos. Another example, you can't turn around at the very beginning and say, nobody needs to wear a mask, and now all of a sudden you're saying everybody needs to wear a mask, as an example. So I think when we're dealing with situations like this, like not just pandemics, but any situation that will create the same sort of scenario, I think that we have to have a scheduled level of communication. I'm not quite sure we need a daily communication from people, like our politicians are doing a great job, but sometimes being there every day and almost saying the same thing over and over, I think it starts to create more anxiety and frustration. So I think you need to have a communication schedule. There has to be a key message that you're going to deliver that impacts people directly or indirectly. And I think it has to be positioned in a positive way. We can't always be spreading doom and gloom when we're talking about things like pandemics, as an example.
Yeah, fair enough. Arik.
So we're living in an unprecedented time. COVID is probably going to shape the rest of the 21st century from many perspectives. Technology, of course, communications, but I mean other things, fashion, culture. Everything is going to be shaped by COVID. It changes everything, and maybe we're lucky to live through it, because we're going to be part of this, shaping the future. Communications are obviously key. Definitely going to echo what Joe is saying. Stay timely, stay short, stay on point. We're seeing some bad examples. We're seeing some good examples. We don't know what's best. We don't really know. We can just see others, like the government and so forth, doing their best, and sometimes they're overdoing it. Maybe the daily communication saying nothing is too much. It's boring. People are tuning off it. What we're seeing as being successful is, fun things. The biggest winners of this COVID pandemic, from a technology perspective, from a communication perspective, are Zoom. But who else is a huge winner for, during these times? TikTok. TikTok is a huge winner. And again, kids play, right? Who's to say that this is something serious or whatnot? But look at it. Every time you put a TikTok out, if you have a following, hundreds of thousands of of people are watching it and essentially tuning into your message. Maybe that's the right message. Maybe that's the right way of doing things. What I want to say, as parting words is that we're living in a tough time. Yeah. It's hard to see customers or whatnot, but at the same time, the breadth of our communication, our coverage has increased exponentially. We're no longer limited just to the community. When we send something out now, it's seen in Europe, it's seen in Asia, it's seen in Africa, Australia, everywhere. Not just North America, not just Toronto, not just Vaughan, it's everywhere. So if there's one thing that I would say as far as adapting our communication is think globally. Think about what you have to say and how it pertains to everyone, not just the community, everyone on this planet, because COVID, in a sense, kind of did bring us together.
Yeah, it's true. I know at the Vaughan Chamber, we've always had a very strong team, but I feel that it's actually brought us together even more. We feel we're united in a common cause, trying to support our business members and the broader community. And we've seen examples where there's just been some incredible things we've seen happen in communities, like one charity donating face shields to another, and Vaughan Chamber sometimes plays a small part in that, but it's not about the chamber. It's about the goodness that people are trying to do for others right now. Because the phrase that, if you've been watching other segments, I think this is the 8th or so segment we've done, or town hall, is that I always say we're all in this together, but we all have very unique circumstances at home. Some have children at home. They're doing primary teaching for those kids while working full time. Others have sick loved ones they're dealing with. There's all kinds of issues. Some have been laid off. So that's a good message, Arik. Thank you. And Tali, over to you.
Yeah. So again, I just would like to repeat what I mentioned already. Just use it as an opportunity to take your business to the next level, if you may say. If you didn't leverage digital, you have no choice now, right? Who was leading your company digital transformation? It's COVID-19, right? So just start, don't go overboard and don't go overwhelmed. Start step by step with 2 channels. If you didn't have, for example, LinkedIn account, maybe it's a good excuse to create one. If you didn't have and didn't use Facebook, create one, and see how you can really support your clients and customers as a business owner and provide value and provide this extra touch, right? Because people after we going and coming out of this, people will remember how they felt and what you did for them, right? So it's more, I would say, more about, at the moment, about education and value and building really relationships. So that's my 5 cents.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to chatting to all of you again in the future, whether it's online or offline. You're all fantastic leaders, well spoken, and very active with our chamber community. So we appreciate your time. For those at home, I hope you got value out of this. I think there were a lot of great answers, practical tips for team building, for collaborating, for business lead generation, for how to be online. I think that's a key message. You need to be online right now and have an e-commerce strategy if you don't already. And for those also, I'd encourage you, if you're not a member of the chamber, certainly at the minimum, you should join our mailing list. That's free. You can find that on our homepage on the Vaughan Chamber. It's the e-newsletter. You just add yourself. I think that's a valuable way to find out about new government support programs through us, new town halls and networking sessions we're doing. We are holding our first virtual networking for chamber members this Friday. So maybe I'll see some of our speakers there. That is just for the first series of people who sign up. And I want to thank you all. Stay safe and well, and look forward to our next chat. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.
Yep, thanks.